In today's 23-24 single season rebuild, we're going to be heading over to Portugal, where we're going to be taking the reins at Sporting Lisbon. In the 22-23 season, Sporting had fallen off of the pace in Portugal, finishing in 4th place, 13 points behind league winners Benfica. In today's video, we're going to try and rebuild the team to see if we can return them to the top of Portuguese football. To kick things off, let's check out the club's current tactic and the best 11 according to the assistant manager. They start off with a 5-2-3, which looks like it could also function as a 3-4-3. Two wide players can push forward, whilst the back three are protected by two holders. Looking at some of the key players, Sebastian Coates is a strong, dependable defender who unfortunately seems to want to leave the club. Goncalo Inacio is a highly thought of 22-year-old who's been linked with a lot of big clubs in real life. Manuel Ugarte is a player who won't be here past July. It seems he is set for a big money move to PSG. And Paulinho is the focal point of the attack, with him being relied on for goals. Looking at the finances at the start, we have about 6.5 million available to spend. The club has a good wage budget too, with about 30,000 available. On the Club Vision tab, we see that the board are ambitious. They expect us to be challenging on all fronts, including European competitions, and they aim for domestic glory. With a clear picture of everything going on at the club, it's time for us to get to work as we look to add some reinforcements in the first transfer window. Before I start to break the summer transfer window down, I need to ask you for a small favour. A few clicks go a long way here on YouTube, so please support the channel by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Right then, to begin the window, we allowed a few players who were at the end of their contracts to leave the club. These included Antonio Adan, Eduardo Henrique and Luis Neto. The first player to leave for a fee was Rafinha. He went to Everton. And he was followed out the club by Sebastian Coates, who was pushing for a move away and landed at Sociedad. The final player to leave in the window was Arthur Gomes. He moved back to his native Brazil. With all those deals done, we now have 23.6 million in the bank to bring in some reinforcements. The first task was to find a new number 1 goalkeeper, and filling that role will be Georgi Mamadashvili. The next arrival at the club was highly rated midfielder Gabri Veiga, with him coming to us from Celta Vigo. We added to our backline as we replaced Coates with Dan Axel Zagadou. And the final arrival was Ricardo Pepi. The young American has just headed to Holland in real life, but we have brought him in the save to score us goals. With our summer business done, we are left with 4 million to head into the January transfer window. Finally, this is a quick look at how we could line up in my odd 4-3-3 tactic, with Veiga being retrained as a segundo volante. With the first transfer window now shut and our first signings completed, let's move on into the first half of the season as we look how we got on in the run-up to the 1st of January. We kicked off our league campaign in fine form, firstly brushing aside Moreirense 3-0, then beating Porto 1-0. We then turned our attentions to the Conference League qualifiers, where we dispatched of Sturm Graz, although our away game was pretty terrible. Back in league action, we beat Vizela 3-2, before a shock 3-2 loss to Portimonense showed that we couldn't rest on our laurels. We bounced back straight away, beating Estoril 2-1, for a conference win against Sion. In October and November, we started to hit top form, beat Casapia 3-1, Moreirense 6-0, Braga 4-1, and the top of the table clash against Benfica ended with us winning 1-0. Our run though would come to an end against Boa Vista, who held us to a 1-1 draw. We soon though were back to winning ways, and the run to January saw us beat Aruca 5-0, Madeira 4-1 in the Portuguese Cup, and Maritimo 5-0 to take us to January the 1st. With the first half of the season now complete, we find ourselves top of the league as we lead Benfica by 3 points. Finished top of our Conference League group, qualified for the 6th round of the Portuguese Cup, and reached the semi-finals of the Portuguese League Cup. In the Portuguese Premier League, we have a record of 12 played, 10 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss. We have a goal difference of 25 and have registered 31 points, putting us in a lead of 3 points over Benfica. In the Conference League, we played 6, won 5, lost 1, with a goal difference of 16 and finishing on 15 points to qualify as group winners. In the finances department, we now have 12 million to spend in January. We have a lot of free wage budget. The board have scored us a B on the Club Vision tab. So far, their only concerns seem to be our single defeat in Europe and the 1-1 draw in the league. We have a lack of support though due to contract renewals currently. Looking at the impact of our summer signings so far, with Mamardashvili, who has established himself as first choice goalkeeper and has played really well in all competitions. Gabri Veiga has adapted to being Segundo Volante and has played in 24 games, providing 4 assists. Dan Axel Zagadou has settled in well in the back 4. He's played in 14 games, scoring 3 and assisting 1. And finally, Ricardo Pepe hit the ground running. The American has been on fire in front of goal and has scored 15 goals in his 23 starts. With the first half of the season now complete, let's move into the winter transfer window and see if we can add any reinforcements to help us in the second half of the season. To kick off the January transfer window, we allowed Nuno Santos to move to Red Bull Leipzig, and Matthias Reis has moved to England as he joins up with Tottenham. To kick off our spending, I signed one of my FM favourites in Conrad de la Fuente, and I followed that up with the signing of everyone's favourite FM23 wonder kid as Alex Scott joins the club. I bought in defensive reinforcements to end the spending, firstly signing Herod Smolcic from Frankfurt, and then one for the future in Al-Chadley Bichiabu. So with the spending complete, it meant on January the 31st we are still sat top of the Premier League, and we have now opened up a 5-point gap to Porto, who are in second place. With the winter transfer window now shut and all of our business complete, let's jump into the second half of the season and see how we get on. We kicked off the second half of the season with the League Cup final. We had beat Porto 2-1 to win our first silverware of the season. Back in league action, we were in good form, beating Famalicão 4-2 and Boa Vista 4-0, before all of a sudden our bubble burst. We would lose 3-0 to Porto at home, before we went away to Estoril and we were turned over 1-0. After 2 dud games though, we managed to get our mojo back. First we beat Portimonense 3-0, then Casapia 4-1, Braga 1-0, Brighton 5-2 on aggregate in the Europa Conference League round of 16, and finally Benfica 2-0 in the league. We qualified for the Europa Conference League semi-final by beating Mainz 5-2 on aggregate, and followed that up with a 6-4 victory over Porto to reach the Portuguese Cup final. We managed to beat Atalanta 4-2 on aggregate to reach the Conference League final, before wrapping up our league campaign with a 2-0 win over Victor Guimarães. That left us with just 2 cup finals to play. The first of which was the Portuguese Cup, where we would dismantle Rio Ave 5-0. And the finale was the Conference League final, where we would go on to beat Feyenoord 2-1 to lift the trophy. So after a hard-fought season which resulted in us playing in every game available to us, we have gone and done the quadruple. We have won the Portuguese Premier League, the Portuguese Cup, the League Cup, and as a nice bonus, the Conference League too. In the Premier League, we have finished with 87 points, having won 28, drawn 3, and losing 3 games. We beat Benfica to the title by 4 points, and we left Porto 13 points adrift. Despite winning everything we could, the board only scored us a B+, with them being upset still about a 0-0 league draw. Looking at our signings and the influence they had on the season, Mamardashvili was outstanding in goal. Gabri Veiga became a vital cog in the midfield. He played 50 times, scoring 9 goals and assisting 6. Dan Axel Zagadou became a rock at the back. He made 30 appearances in total, scoring 3 and assisting twice. Ricardo Pepe had an outstanding season. The young American would play 46 times, scoring 31 goals and providing 9 assists in all competitions. Conrad de la Fuente had to settle with being a bit part player, but was reliable when he was called upon. Alex Scott actually came to the club injured. He was out for 5 to 8 weeks, but still managed to play 17 times and provide us with 5 assists. Although Jay Smolcic had a brilliant start to his sporting career, he played in 24 games, he scored once and provided 7 assists. And finally, Al Chadile Bichabu, he became a rotation option with him gaining experience for the future. He played 8 times and scored twice. So after a fantastic season at Sporting, we can now celebrate winning an historic quadruple. What a season we have just completed in Portugal, an amazing, historic quadruple. We have managed to win the Portuguese Premier League, the Portuguese Cup, the Portuguese League Cup, and we even threw in the Europa Conference League for good measure. Right then, if you're still with me at this point of the video, firstly, a big thank you for watching. Secondly, if you don't mind hitting that like and subscribe button to help the channel, I really cannot thank you enough for all of the people that have come to the channel, interacted and helped to make the channel grow. If you really do want to give something back, a few clicks is all it takes to help the channel even more. Before you go, don't forget to check out the rest of the channel. There are other things such as hints and tips, Wonder Kids, tactic videos, let's plays, a little bit of something for everybody right here on the channel. But for this one, I'm going to leave it there. Big thank you for watching. I'll see you on another video very soon.